I'm Moneypenny Nick. This is my pandemic life story.
So, Nick, first of all, good morning.
Hi, how are you? I haven't spoken to you for a little while.
No, you haven't, but your voice is just as enigmatic. Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. Like the Mona Lisa, very, you know what I mean?
It's my COVID voice, as you know. My long COVID voice has dropped to me about 2 octaves and made me very husky. And it's been like this for 2.5 years now, so you should try and recognise me.
Is that really the case? For 2.5 years, due to COVID, your voice has dropped an octave or so, half an octave maybe?
Yeah. So they wanted to put me in speech therapy, but I said I quite like my voice, apart from the fact it's a little sore on the throat. But and this is it. This is me now.
Does the long COVID affect you in any other way?
Lots, extensively. I'm still pretty much unable to leave the house. Obviously, I can't return to work. I can't work. I've got a number of autoimmune illnesses. I'm on beta blockers. I've got multiple organ damage. I've got kidneys that are failing.
What?
All
because of COVID?
Yeah, it's long COVID. That is what long COVID is.
But organ failure? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the myocarditis, pericarditis, as some people report as a part-time thing, it damages the valves of the heart, and the same with my liver and my kidneys have both sustained long-term damage as a result of COVID.
I'm really sorry to hear that. Wow, gosh, I didn't realise that that was the consequence or potential consequence of long COVID.
Yeah, a lot of people living with blindness in wheelchairs, a lot like me that are just housebound. And it was only 3 weeks ago in Scotland that the Scottish government declared long COVID is now recognised as a disability. So you are legally disabled now with a long COVID sequelae syndrome if it is confirmed by your GP.
And as often is the case, it's Scotland that leads the way on this, because as I can imagine, where you are in Cheltenham, it's not seen yet as a disability, is it? Long COVID, or is it?
Well, all the 1.75 million people that have been so far diagnosed with this are all now applying to have that status legally put, and applying obviously for disability benefits, which so far we've been denied for the last 2 years.
This video is dedicated to all the brave people in the long COVID support group. Millions of people worldwide now have long COVID, and there are lots of survivors and lots of people that get better. But if you're not one of them, it can be really tough to carry on. Every day is a struggle. This is just my story, told through the various media interviews that I gave after becoming probably one of the first. Initially, the biggest problem was being believed. I was told I probably had swine flu, but that was 2 months before Wuhan had even talked about having COVID. This is my doctor and a mental health team. She brought them to my house the day after I came out of hospital from sepsis, because she thought my symptoms were just down to psychosis, and she tried to section me under the Mental Health Act because she could not believe all the strange symptoms that every day I was reporting.
I was at London Gatwick Airport on the 22nd of December when 7 plane flights came in from Wuhan that day, and I stayed in the hotel airport that night with people that came off those flights.
What's the impact been on your life, Nick?
It's ripped me. I used to be a really self-confident, independent, successful person, and the one thing that I hate most is my dependency on everybody for everything.
There are over 35,000 people in the long COVID support group who, like me, are fairly young, who have lost their eyesight, who are in wheelchairs. I used to ride motorbikes across the Cotswolds. I haven't been able to walk my dogs 200 yards. Long COVID is a serious illness. It's being investigated today in Parliament, and I urge you to watch and support it, because without recognition, and with silly clinics just taking tick box research, we're not going to be able to cure it.
Also, not because so much of physical, but mental illness, because I had a real sort of breakdown type incident, because I can't face the idea of another 6 months being locked on my own with Christmas Day and New Year's Day on my own in my house. It's really, really getting to me.
Of course, that sounds awful. And this is, the stories. These are the stories that we forget about when we're getting so lost in the headlines and the data and the news, that there are people who are at home and have been at home for 9 months.
That long COVID support group we mentioned earlier.